Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. We're joined now by Mr. Sina Fagbenro-Byron, who is also a lawyer, but is a former Southwest coordinator of DFID. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
Well, this matter is out there in the public in terms of how are they proceeding. Everyone seems to be digging their heels in, staying on their positions, but at least they all agree on one thing. Yes, we need to fight corruption, but how we go about it, that's where you get divergence of opinion. Is that where you also differ a little?
Well, in the first place, I think the problems that Nigeria faces can only be solved with a lot of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And the very entry point for that is that we should listen to each other. In law and in justice, number one, you've got to hear the other side. And the second principle is that no man shall be a judge in his own cause. So, in the first place, they say judgment must start in the house of the Lord. And so it is very clear that the judiciary needs to take a deep look at itself. The senior legal profession needs to take a deep look at themselves and ask whether they are instruments of law or instruments of justice, and it's justice for all, including the rich and the poor. And I think that the justice system has had some challenges over the years. There is corruption there, as there is everywhere else. But having said that, the stability of Nigeria is predicated on a tripod. And the tripod is the executive, that is the democratic stability. That is the executive, the judiciary, and the legislative arm of government. And if you put any tripod and you weaken one, then the whole thing collapses. So I wouldn't have supported the way and manner the DSS went into the judges' chambers. The question is, did the judges refuse to open the door when they knocked?
The DSS need to tell us that.
They need to tell us that. Then, was there a perpetuating crime that necessitated the breaking? Because the reason they're legitimate, in the first place, I have no problem with them going at any time of the day. So whether it's 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 6 a.m., it doesn't matter. But you break into a house to effect a policing work or prevention of a crime, if there is a crime going on there. So if they have a reason to believe that there was an ongoing crime as at the time they broke in, then, yeah, fine. But they need to provide the evidence.
The argument has been that the DSS, first of all, has gone beyond its boundaries in terms of arresting the judges. There are those who argue, again, that the judges are supposed to be disciplined by the NJC, because that's the body that oversees their activities and is supposed to be investigating the kind of petitions they say led to their arrest and all of that. So those arguments all tie. How do we resolve all that?
Reconcile all that.
Yes.
You see, like we say, right, the principle of justice is the principle of justice. You cannot be a judge in your own case. So it cannot be entirely up to the NJC alone. So if a judge perpetrates a crime in the middle of Tafawa Balewa Square, are we going to wait till the NJC to come in? We cannot do that.
But the NJC themselves too have said, we have recommended some of these judges.
Yes, maybe they haven't recommended all.
Disciplined.
Maybe they haven't recommended all. But the point I'm trying to make is that the NJC has done exactly what it should do. And I don't have a problem with the NJC. But while the NJC is doing its work, other arms of government should do their work too. But they should do it in a manner that is consistent with the law and must not be seen as being done maliciously. Now, if it is true that any of the judges were presiding over cases, over the DSS, prior to this and had taken decisions of the DSS, then it could easily be seen that the DSS's action was done maliciously. And when it is malicious, it cannot be legal. Once it is malicious, it cannot be legal.
That's if they establish that
if, in the first place, yes, you see, you look at the manner Take for example, with this way, which judge will want to take a case, and preside over a matter if tomorrow comes and the DSS, they are human beings, if they legitimately offend me tomorrow and I take them to court, which judge will want to hear? So the whole judiciary will say, DSS, I won't take the judge. What does that make of a society? Cool. So who polices the police? Who polices DSS? It cannot be left to the Director General of DSS alone. They must have institutional control as well. Because the fundamental of corruption is that absolute power corrupts. And absolute power corrupts absolutely. Give any institution absolute power and it will go. We have the security services should take a step back. They are exposing themselves to corruption as well.
You asked the question, who polices the police?
Yes.
Who controls the institutions? But we do have the Constitution. There are those who wonder, what laws exactly did the DSS break in their actions to ensure that evidence is obtained? Now, let's tie that into the Administration of Criminal Justice Act of 2015 that says something about arrest and inhumane treatment of those arrested. How would that also?
You see, the point is this. You see, it's not a question of whether they've broken a law or not. It's what the evidence says. Now, is it in the DSS's operational manual to break and enter a place? If it is true, yes. For what reason? To collect evidence, to effect an arrest. Are there conditions precedent before you break down? Or can the DSS, have we given the DSS automatic license to break down any door?
But when you say is it within the operational manual, how does that tie into the Constitution that says every Nigerian is entitled to a right, has a right to self?
That's precisely why the DSS should be cautious, because they are under the Constitution as well. That's why they should be cautious. That's why we all should be cautious. All of us. All of us.
But looking through all of this, right from when it first broke, and then many cited the Security Agencies Act in terms of the functions of the DSS, to when the NJC gave their position, the NBA gave their position. Now we have the presidency also giving their position, saying yes, the DSS acted within the ambit of the law. And then we even look at the Criminal Justice Act. But at the end of the day, these judges, the DSS says they will be arraigned in court. So you then sit back and ask, now, if and when they are arraigned in court, does that mean, as a result of all of this hype that has happened with the arrest, will there be quick dispensation of justice in this? Because as we speak, many Nigerians will still tell you, you take a case to court, many of them don't get concluded in time. So how does this address that challenge?
You see, that is why you shouldn't be preemptive. You see, people are inclined to believe that the DSS action was preemptive. If they had collected enough evidence to arraign those judges, they would not have needed to go into those houses. They could have just invited them and arraigned them straight away. Part of why they went into those houses was to look for additional evidence. It is true they must have been trailing the judges, but they went to look for additional, but it was a preemptive action. And when you set in a chain of preemptive actions, everything after becomes preemptive. Now, because the preemptive actions will introduce an element of bias, particularly when two of the judges had done cases against the DSS. And then we are preempting again in terms of whether it's now, whether we're going to actually get justice or not.
Okay, we'll be back to take a look at this and more in just a moment.